Hello students, welcome to the new session of elements of building construction. As we are already going through, this session is common for ME145 and ME147 courses offered in engineering branches of CSB80 and Dubstar. So if you see that the topic we have already completed, types of building, design loads, building components and principles of planning. So this all four topics what you already completed is basically depending on the building. So in this stage, what it is the basic requirements of building planning. We are going to discuss that while considering a region for construction of a building, what are the parameters we should be looking into. So if you see the main 5 points we'll be discussing here. Number one, it is the selection of site. That means what kind of plot is good for the construction of a residential building, and building bylaws is the second point that we'll discuss about what are the local authorities who are dealing with the laws of that area and what kind of parameters they set. And third point would be the orientation of building. Fourth would be the requirement of a building, that what are the basic requirement, and one more, that it is the functional requirement of that residential building. So these are the five main points we are going to discuss in today's lecture. Let us take one by one. First one, it is the selection of site. So if you are decided to construct a building, okay, now is the time to look for a proper plot to construct that building. So in that case, these are the main points we should take into consideration. It is fairly a level ground is more appropriate for the construction of a residential building, but it is not a very strict rule like fair level ground is required. But for example, if you are going to do a construction in a foothill or in a portion of a slopey terrain, hilly terrain, then this fairly level ground may not be possible. But it is good enough if you are having a fairly level ground. Otherwise, the structural requirements and the expenses of getting that into a fair level ground is going to be much. It is going to create more economical burden to the people. And second point we should take in care, which is the area should be developed or fastly developing area. That is a more important thing, because if the area is underdeveloped or it is not having a scope to develop in the near future, then investing money into that region is not a good idea. If you're planning, if the person is planning for a construction of a building in a city, then it is always good to see that which area of the city is developing fastly and new things are coming up. So that area is better to select for the construction of a building. And the third point is that the site should have good landscape so as to promote healthy peaceful environment. The landscape or the topography of that region should be good, so that it should give us a good healthy environment and a peaceful environment. So it should have a good view in the nearby area, or it should have a good wind and sunrise coming to the area. So that all things has to taken into consideration. It is always better to consider, this is one of the major point, because most of the people who are going to construct their residential buildings have to taken this thing into consideration, that this site is located in a elevated land, because as we know that in a rainy season water will always have a tendency to fill the low lying lands, and if your land is not elevated, then that is going to be affected by the flooding water. And if you have seen even the fast even the history means the archaeological time onwards, if you have seen the archaeological site, most of them are located in a elevated land, and that actually help them to stay away from the flood water. Connectivity by road, bypass, and service lanes are very essential because that actually make the life better. And the services such as water, electric supply, drainage, sewers, telephone lines, all these necessary facilities should be available. So, and about that, the basic amenities like school, hospital, shopping centers, post office, transportation facility, and all these things which needs to be evaluated, and we need to take a decision on that, whether the area is suitable for the construction or not. It is better that the sites or the construction plot we are going to do our residential complex should be away from quarries or the industries or factories or the noisy locations. But as I said, that this points what I'm mentioning here is not very strictly followed. It all depends on the people's requirement and the availability of fund. And somewhere, as I said in the earlier lectures also, we will have to compromise in some points. So it is up to but these are the points what we are going to consider while taking a location. And after that, the decision is finally the person who is going to construct the building, whether he is ready to live with this thing or not. Now this we don't have any option in second case, that it is the building bylaws. The building bylaws needs to be, as I said, the first case we can compromise in our level, but this we may not be able to compromise because these are set by the standard authorities. So these are the standards and specifications designed for construction which provide healthy comfort and safety. So these rules and regulations given by the standard bodies, the bodies such as city and industrial development corporation. So they do give the standard guidelines for township development under state and government, whereas the municipal corporations, they do the standard guidelines for the urban development, for example Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation. So the construction activities which are going to be undertaken in Ahmedabad municipal region, that has to follow the building bylaws drawn by this Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation, whereas in the rural areas which comes under the purview of a panchayat, so they will decide the rules and regulations or the standards and specifications for the construction of a building. And national building code, it is in the Delhi based national building code, that is the defining various building bylaws for the nation. So these are the main bodies, and these bodies will be providing the guidelines and the standards for the construction of building according to their region where they are actively looking after. So these are some of the other points where we are going to consider what are the points in this building laws, major points which are coming under this building bylaws. First one is the building line and its and setback. Setback is, it means, for example, this is the plot what I'm the owner of this plot, and I am planning to construct a building in this plot. Now there is a road which is going in the side of the plot. While considering this building to construct, if I'm thinking that okay, this is all my plot, I'm going to construct the entire building, I'm going to cover the entire plot for constructing the building, so that is not allowed by the building bylaws. So this is called the setback, where from the boundary line how much this building should be away from. So that is also not same for all the regions. For example, if you are going for a congested area, so that can be of 1 meter to 1.5 meter. For example, in the old city regions of Ahmedabad, if you are going to construct a building in the old city region of Ahmedabad, then the setback that is designed by or it is the guidelines given by the Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation may be less compared to a new developing region where it is not congested. So it varies from 1.5 meter to 1 meter, or 4.5 meter to 6 meter, depending on that which kind of road it is, what kind of region it is. So these all things, if for example if it is a national highway or if it is a state highway, so this setback varies. So that varies with the area where we are, and what kind of standard building bylaws applicable to that region. Second, it is a light plan. What is this light plan? When you are considering to construct a high-rise building, then the setback needs to be arranged in such a way that the building which is going to be constructed on the opposite side of the road should get sufficient light. That means the angle which is ranging from 45 degree to 63 degree, we have to maintain, so that there is no obstacle in this area, or we are not making any construction in this area. Because of that, the light which is supposed to reach this side is created a obstacle by this building, so that is not allowed. So that light plan marks, which varies between 45 degree to 63.5 degree. That depends on the region where we are going to construct. And next is the floor space index. It is simply the ratio of floor space covered in all floors of the building. For example, if it is a 10 stories building and each one story of this building is having 100 square feet, then that total square area, that total floor space which is provided by this building, and the available plot. So it practically it means that how many number of floors we can construct in a area, and that is designed by the parameter that is called FSI, that is floor space index. So it is determined by the local authority, that if it is a very congested regions, then for like the Bombay, there the number of stories are allowed, more number of stories are allowed. But whereas in other cases where there is plenty of land available, but there is no need of doing multi-storied high-rise buildings, then that is actually controlled by the local governing authorities like municipal corporation or panchayat or whatever we have discussed in the previous slide. It is actually the measure to check the density of population in that region. So next we are going to discuss about the orientation of the building. So orientation of the building means the building should be arranged in such a way that it should get all the natural resources such as air, sunlight, rain, etc. to a greater extent. So for example, if you are going to if you are going to discuss about the alignment of the building, for example, this is the building where the longest wall of the building is aligned in east-west direction. So in this case, the entire building should be getting the sun rays from morning to evening. So the most of the major part of the building will be exposed to sunrise during the entire duration. While if we arrange this building in the other alignment, that means the short wall of the building runs parallel to the east west. That means the building, if you rotate it 90 degrees, so the long wall goes north south and the short wall of the building goes east west, then it should get a minimum amount of sunrise in, or the less area of the building should be exposed to sunrise from the morning to evening. So that will reduce the total temperature in the building. So these things should be considered in the building planning or the selection of building site. Is the requirements of the building. So while considering this building, there are some basic parameters we have to consider for the building: that it should be durable and stable, it should be strong enough to withstand the impact of atmosphere, environment and earthquake. So that also again depends on that which area we are going to construct the building. For example, as you know, for example, if you take the earthquake, so earthquake is the all. If we're considering the example of our India, the India is divided into different zones depending on the risk of earthquake. So some zones are considered to be very risky. That means high magnitude earthquakes can be happened in that region. So that areas, when we are considering for the construction, so we should always take in that earthquake resistant buildings. So that kind of things we need to taken into consideration. And the building should provide a maximum living and working comfort, and it should have a ventilation and free from dampness is the moisture which is going to enter into the building through the capillary, right? So if we remember that we discussed about the damp proof course, DPC, that is provided in the building to prevent water uh, entering into the building. So grouping of rooms should be planned so as to ensure the circulation optimism. Grouping we have already discussed. So we have seen that the grouping should be done in such a way that it should reduce the movement of people. So that, because the kitchen should be closer to the dining room, so that it can avoid an unnecessarily movement of the person, or the toilets and the washroom should be away from the kitchen, or it should be away from the common places, or it should give a proper detached arrangement. So number of doors and windows should be sufficient and located in such a way that it provide enough light and air. As you know that windows are obviously going to providing to a building to allow light and wind to enter, and the doors also along with providing access through different walls. The doors also act as a source of ventilation. And a building should be safe from hazard, it should be safe from like earthquake hazard or a fire hazard. So all that things building should be safe from. So these all parameters we have to taken into consideration while thinking for a building. And the building should also should satisfy the functional requirement. As a residential building we are talking about, it should have a living area, sleeping area and service area. These three things should be provided in the building. Living rooms and drawing rooms should be planned, and sleeping area, so it has to be giving a relaxing purpose, so considered for a relaxation purpose. And the bedroom should be provided, so they should be located so as to maintain privacy also, that also needs to be taken. So this all, most of the things while the grouping, privacy, cleanliness, these are the aspects while designing and arranging these buildings we have discussed in the building planning, that the principles of building planning, so that we have already discussed. So all that things should be taken into consideration while considering a residential building. So this is it. Thank you for watching.